Man visits a shelter, and a German shepherd starts crying. What happens next will leave you in tears. The sun was barely rising over the horizon as Jack Thompson walked down the quiet streets of Millbrook. His footsteps echoed in the still morning air. At 65, Jack's weathered face and silver hair showed the signs of a life full of memories. But his eyes carried a sadness that weighed heavy with every step. It had been exactly 1 year since Jack lost his beloved German shepherd, Max. The pain was still fresh. The silence in his home reminded him every day of the loyal friend who had been by his side for over 10 years. Like he did every morning, Jack followed the familiar path to the Millbrook Animal Shelter. He had started volunteering there to ease the emptiness Max had left behind. The shelter was a small building at the edge of town, its faded blue paint peeling in some places. But to Jack, it felt like a safe haven, a place where he could be surrounded by animals who still had love to give. As he got closer to the entrance, he could already hear the excited barks and meows from the animals waking up. "Morning, Jack," called out Sarah, the young shelter manager, as he stepped inside. Her bright smile faded a little when she saw the sadness in Jack's eyes. "Rough morning?" she asked. Jack tried to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just one of those days, I guess. Max would have been 12 today." Sarah's face softened. She had known Jack even before Max passed and had seen the deep connection between them. "I'm so sorry, Jack. I know how much you miss him." Jack nodded and cleared his throat as emotion crept in. "No use dwelling on it. What needs doing today?" As Sarah started going over the day's tasks, Jack heard a commotion from the back of the shelter. Scared whimpers and loud barking echoed through the hall. "Oh no, not again," Sarah sighed, her face full of concern. "It's our new arrival. He came in late last night. A German shepherd, badly abused. We haven't even been able to get close enough to check him properly." Jack's chest tightened at the thought of an animal in pain. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked. Sarah looked unsure. "Be careful, Jack. He's in rough shape and scared of people. We're not sure how he'll react." With a determined nod, Jack walked toward the isolation area in the back of the shelter. The closer he got, the louder the fearful sounds became. His heart ached at what he saw. Huddled in the corner of the last kennel was a large German shepherd. His coat was dull and messy, and even from a distance, Jack could see the scars across his body. Scars crisscrossed the dog's body, clear signs of a life filled with pain and neglect. The German shepherd's eyes were wide with fear, darting around the small space. Jack crouched down slowly, keeping his movements soft and calm. "Hey there, big fella," he whispered gently. "It's okay. No one's going to hurt you here." At the sound of Jack's voice, the German shepherd's ears twitched. He turned his head, locking eyes with Jack. Everything froze for a moment. Then, to Jack's complete shock, the dog's entire behavior changed. The shaking stopped. His tail, which had been tucked tightly between his legs, started wagging, slowly, unsurely. And then, right in front of Jack's eyes, the dog let out a soft whine, and tears began to fill his eyes. "Sarah," Jack called out, voice trembling. "Sarah, come quick." Sarah rushed over, her eyes widening when she saw what was happening. The German shepherd, who had been too scared to even approach, was now leaning against the kennel door, staring at Jack with a deep, intense gaze. "I don't believe it," Sarah whispered. It's like he knows you." Jack couldn't think straight. There was something familiar in the dog's eyes. Something warm. Something he thought he'd lost forever. With shaky hands, he reached for the kennel door. "Jack, wait," Sarah warned. "We don't know if he's safe. Wait. Tell us in the comments. Which country are you watching or listening from? Let's see how far Max's story can travel." Every comment, every like, every share helps more shelter dogs get seen, get saved, and get home. But she didn't get to finish. The door swung open, and in an instant, the German shepherd rushed out. He slammed into Jack so hard the old man stumbled back. Sarah gasped, sure he was about to be attacked. But instead, they watched in awe. The dog wasn't attacking. He was smothering Jack's face with happy, frantic licks. His whole body shook with joy. Jack's arms wrapped around the dog, holding him tightly as tears rolled down his weathered cheeks. "Max," he whispered, barely able to speak. "Max, is that really you?" The German shepherd let out a soft woof and snuggled even closer. Jack didn't need more proof. Somehow, against all odds, his beloved Max had come back to him. As Jack held the dog he had thought he lost forever, memories rushed through his mind. Especially the terrible day it all happened. A year ago, they had gone on their regular morning walk. Max had seen a cat sprint across the street. Before Jack could tighten the leash, Max had bolted after it. Jack had screamed, but it was too late. The sound of tires and a loud, horrible thud filled the air. Jack had run to Max, who was lying still on the pavement. He had picked up his best friend in his arms. The driver, a teenager, barely older than a kid, was filled with panic and regret. In the middle of the chaos, as the driver called for help and people gathered around, Jack felt Max go limp in his arms. Heartbroken, he hadn't noticed the animal control van arrive, or the kind strangers who suggested taking Max for emergency care. In shock, Jack had let them take Max's body without a second thought. Later, once the shock faded, Jack realized something strange. He never got any confirmation that Max had truly passed. He called vet clinics, animal hospitals, nothing. The animal control officer who took Max couldn't be found. It was like Max had disappeared. Now, as Jack held this miracle of a dog in his arms, everything started to make sense. Max hadn't died that day. He was hurt, yes, but still alive. Somehow, through a chain of mistakes, or maybe something darker, Max had ended up far from home. He had fallen into the hands of cruel people who only saw him as a way to make money through illegal dog fighting. "Oh, Max," Jack whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. "What did they do to you, boy? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Sarah watched the reunion with tears in her eyes, barely believing what she was seeing. "Jack," she said gently, "we need to get him checked out by a vet. He's been through a lot." Jack nodded, slowly loosening his grip on Max. "Of course. You're right, but I'm not leaving his side." The next few hours passed in a blur. The local vet, Dr. Martinez, arrived to examine Max. She was amazed by how much calmer he had become. The dog who once couldn't be touched now sat still, drawing strength from Jack's presence. "He's definitely been through a lot," Dr. Martinez said, frowning as she looked over his injuries. Old fractures that didn't heal well, deep scars, signs of not getting enough food. But considering what he's survived, he's in pretty good shape. With care and love, he should recover fully. Jack listened closely, his hand resting on Max's head the entire time. "He'll get the best care possible," Jack said firmly. "I promise." As the exam ended, Sarah walked over with a thoughtful look on her face. "Jack, there's something we need to talk about," she began. "Technically, Max is still a shelter dog. There's paperwork, procedures." Jack's heart sank. The idea of losing Max again, even for a moment, was unbearable. But before he could say anything, Sarah raised a hand and smiled. "I think we can make an exception this time," she said warmly. "I'll need you to fill out a few forms, but I see no reason Max can't go home with you today. He's already shown us exactly where he belongs." The relief Jack felt was overwhelming. "Thank you, Sarah. You have no idea what this means to me." As Jack got ready to take Max home, news of their incredible reunion spread quickly through the little town of Millbrook. By the time they stepped outside the shelter, a small crowd had gathered. Many were familiar faces, neighbors who remembered the pair from their daily walks. Mrs. Henderson, Jack's next-door neighbor, pushed through the group, tears in her eyes. "Oh, Jack," she said, "it really is a miracle. We've all missed seeing you two together." Max, still a little shy from all the attention, pressed close to Jack's side. Jack looked down at him and smiled. "It's okay, boy," he whispered. "These are all friends." The walk home was slow. Max was still weak from everything he had been through, and Jack didn't want to rush him. Neighbors and well-wishers followed at a respectful distance. The mood was joyful yet quiet, like they were witnessing something truly special. As they neared Jack's small house, Max's tail started wagging faster. By the time they reached the front porch, he was gently pulling on the leash, eager to return to the place he remembered as home. Jack fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking with emotion. When the door swung open, Max dashed inside, his excited barks echoing through the house. Jack followed, his heart full as he watched Max sniff and explore the familiar rooms. For a moment, it felt like the past year had never happened. Max walked over to his old bed, still in its spot by the fireplace, and curled up with a happy sigh. Jack sank into his armchair, overwhelmed by emotion. "Welcome home, Max," he whispered, his voice thick with tears. "Welcome home." The days that followed were filled with both joy and hard work. Max's body began to heal under Jack's care, but the emotional scars ran deeper. Some nights, Max would wake up crying from some nightmare only he could see. Jack would sit beside him, speak softly, and gently stroke his fur until he calmed down. Little by little, Max's spirit began to shine again. Jack laughed more than he had in a year, watching Max rediscover simple joys, chasing squirrels in the yard, squeaking his favorite toy. The bond between them, already strong before, grew even deeper. It was like they both knew how rare and precious their time together was now that they had almost lost it. As Max's story spread, it reached far beyond the small town of Millbrook. Local news stations covered the heartwarming reunion. Soon, even national media wanted to share it. Jack was unsure at first, but Sarah encouraged him. "Think about it, Jack," she said. "Your story could inspire more people to adopt shelter dogs, especially the ones that often get passed over, like older German shepherds." Realizing how much good it could do, Jack agreed. He and Max appeared on TV, in newspapers, and all over the internet. The response was incredible. Donations flooded into the Millbrook Animal Shelter. Adoption rates soared. But maybe the most important change was how people saw German shepherds. Max, with his gentle nature and deep loyalty, became living proof that this often feared breed could be loving and kind. One afternoon, Jack and Max were walking in the park when a young couple approached them. The woman looked nervous, holding her husband's arm tightly. "Excuse me," the man said. "Are you Jack Thompson? The one from the story about the German shepherd?" Jack smiled. "That's right. This here is Max." The woman stepped forward slowly, eyes locked on Max. I've always been scared of German shepherds," she admitted. "But after seeing your story, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Would it be okay if I petted him?" Jack felt a swell of pride in his chest. "Of course," he said. "Max loves meeting new friends. Just let him sniff your hand first." Max, picking up on the woman's nervousness, stayed calm. He sat patiently as she reached out with a trembling hand. His tail wagged gently as her fingers touched his soft fur. Her body relaxed as she smiled. "He's so sweet," she smiled, gaining confidence as she scratched behind Max's ears. "I never would have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself." As the couple walked away, already talking about visiting the local shelter, Jack felt a deep sense of gratitude. Max's journey, painful as it had been, was now changing lives and opening hearts. Months passed, and life slowly returned to a new kind of normal for Jack and Max. Their morning walks became a familiar sight once more in Millbrook. Neighbors and passers-by often stopped to greet them. Max, once scared and broken, now loved the attention. His tail wagged happily as he greeted old friends and made new ones. On the one-year anniversary of their reunion, Jack decided to do something special. With Sarah's help, he planned a community event at the local park, part fundraiser for the shelter, part celebration of the amazing bond between people and animals. The turnout was bigger than anyone expected. Families from all over town came, many bringing their own rescue dogs. There were games, food stalls, and booths teaching about pet care and the importance of adoption. Max, of course, was the star of the show. He moved through the crowd like a pro, accepting treats and head pats with his usual calm and joy. Jack watched with pride as Max gently played with children and greeted other dogs, showing no signs of the pain he had once carried. As the sun began to set, Jack stepped forward to speak. Max sat quietly beside him, leaning against his leg in quiet support. "A year ago," Jack began, his voice strong but full of feeling, "I thought I had lost my best friend forever. That pain nearly broke me. But fate, or maybe something more, had other plans." He reached down and scratched Max behind the ears, the familiar touch grounding him. "Max's journey back to me wasn't easy. It was full of pain and fear. But it also proved how strong, forgiving, and loving dogs can be. Even after all he's been through, Max never gave up on love or trust." Jack looked out at the crowd, their faces moved by his words. "Our story isn't just about a man and his dog. It's about second chances, about the power of love to heal, and about not judging a book or a dog by its cover." He gestured toward the shelter staff nearby. "There are still so many animals out there waiting for someone to give them a chance. They might not all have a story like Max's, but they have the same heart, the same loyalty, the same need to be loved. Whether you adopt, volunteer, or just spread the word, you can change a life." As Jack finished, the crowd erupted in applause. Max, sensing the joy around him, let out a happy bark that made everyone laugh. Jack knelt down and hugged Max tightly. In that moment, surrounded by kindness, hope, and a community that cared, Jack felt peace wash over him. The pain, the heartbreak, the year of not knowing, all of it began to fade. What remained was gratitude, pure and deep. As the crowd slowly left and evening shadows stretched across the park, Jack and Max began their walk home. Their pace was slower now, Max's muzzle showing touches of gray, Jack's steps a little stiffer, but their bond was stronger than ever, forged through loss, strengthened by love. Jack looked down, and Max looked up, their eyes meeting in a quiet promise, a vow to make the most of every day they had left. As they turned onto their familiar street, the porch light of home glowing warmly in the distance, Jack felt a calm settle over him. Whatever tomorrow held, he knew one thing for sure: he wouldn't face it alone. If this story touched your heart, even just a little, don't scroll away in silence. Like this video to show your love for second chances. Share it with someone who believes in the healing power of love. And if you're new here, hit subscribe, because we tell real stories that stay with you long after the screen fades to black. Tell us in the comments, which country are you watching or listening from? Let's see how far Max's story can travel. Every comment, every like, every share helps more shelter dogs get seen, get saved, and get home.